what's antimony running at? $25,000 a ton for antimony metal right now, and rising rapidly. A lot of that's on the back of this recent China announcement. So we got it. It's pretty amazing. I mean, from what I saw out there, we were collecting it in the matter of a few of us in a couple of hours. We collected 3 tons of antimony. So there's $60,000 of antimony just in three hours, just picking it up off the surface. And so that just shows you the opportunity that we have here at Estelle with Nova Minerals.
Hello and welcome back to the Proactive Studio. I'm Tyler Tully, and joining me today is Nova Minerals CEO Christopher Gerteisen to talk us through the bulk testing it's commenced at its flagship Estelle Gold and Critical Minerals District in Alaska. Chris, thanks for joining us.
Great to be with you, Tyler. Yeah, I just literally came in from the field, so I have the most up-to-date news for you. Lots of exciting things happening out there.
Well, let's hear it. Let's talk about the Estelle project and what you're testing.
So what we're doing right now this year, we're of course focused on the gold, primarily being a gold company. So we're doing drilling at RPM, and what that drilling's doing is we still have some near surface inferred high-grade resources right above that high-grade Bonanza chute, and we're looking we're doing a shallow drilling program with our own RC rig to prove up the remainder of those inferred resources to measured and indicated. So that we do as much as possible for our PFS that we're working on right now. And we're laser focused on that PFS for RPM to get into production as soon as possible and get some cash flow going for the company on the gold side. So that's the gold side. And that program is about to wrap up. And then the exciting news flow here and over the coming weeks with results. And then we'll have a resource update on that RPM before the end of the year. That'll include this year's drilling and of course last year's drilling, which we haven't included in a resource update either. So we have our target there, our exploration target there is we're looking for 500,000 ounces at 2 grams per ton. So I think that's a reasonable target that should be pretty close to being achieved with our upcoming resource update. So that's on the gold side. And now of course with the Estelle project, we have the gold and Corbel, RPM, which we're focused on getting into production, but there's 20 other known prospects at various stages of advancement, and we continue to find gold out there. And then you might say the antimony found us, right? So that's another exciting thing I was doing out there. We just had a news release today that we're collecting bulk samples of antimony, and what we're seeing there are in several prospects now massive stibnite veins right on the surface. I mean, we're seeing some that are 2 meters thick, but lots of zones of stringers of these antimony stibnite veins, and stibnite, of course, being the primary ore mineral for antimony. That it is just right on the surface. We could dig it up now if we wanted to. And so but what we're doing is we're taking these bulk samples to submit for testing. And that test work will be completed. We're working closely with the University of Alaska Fairbanks, their Core CM program, who are tasked with identifying and commercializing critical minerals projects in Alaska. And we're working with them, and also our Perth-based METS Engineering to do the metallurgical test work to see how what the process will be to concentrate these materials and get these into the U.S. supply chain. Because there's a big push to establish U.S. supply chains.
You could say that this antimony has come at the perfect time for the company. Obviously, there's several geopolitical shifts between China and the US right now. Can you talk us through what these are and the impact that they've had on your business?
Yes, so they're, probably already, when we made the discovery over a year ago, initial discovery, we've approached the U.S. government agencies. I mean, the main one there we've been working with is the Department of Defense, various agencies, the branches of the military, and we presented our project, and they were, we've been advancing those discussions over the last 6 months, and that involved myself going to Washington D.C. and just networking and getting involved with that, as well as a number of different conferences. I've even presented at some conferences to showcase and highlight what we've discovered here at Estelle, how, the quality of the resource being right on the surface. It's a pretty near-term opportunity, and looking for grant funding. There's a lot of grant funding focused on, developing critical minerals projects, advancing them, and getting the U.S. back on independent in terms of these critical minerals, because antimony and many of the others that we also have highly elevated concentrations of out there, that being like yttrium, scandium, gallium, indium, all these others, that's all controlled primarily by China and Russia, right? So of course there's a big push to bring that back to the United States, and I think, you know, we've had our story heard and appreciated by these government agencies. But recently, like 2 weeks ago, I think it was, China announced that they are curtailing all exports of antimony. And so that's now antimony. I think they've already stopped exporting gallium and germanium already previously, but now it's antimony. And so with that, now, of course, there's more of a push now, more of an urgency to get these U.S. supply chains going. And projects like ours are well positioned to be able to bring antimony into the U.S. supply chain. At first, of course, mining it, concentrating it, producing a concentrate, but ultimately our proposal to the Department of Defense at their request would be to mine and actually refine here in Alaska, in a central location. Alaska is so mineral rich. Numerous other projects would be incentivized to produce antimony feedstock for such a refinery. So that's the ultimate goal with the grants that we're seeking. So we're seeking, you know, shorter term, near term funding to bring this stuff out of the ground and get it into the supply chain, but ultimately develop a refinery here in Alaska to produce all the antimony products, you know, antimony trisulfide, antimony oxide, some antimony compounds for semiconductors, perhaps antimony metal, all of these things. And so we're very well positioned to start. If we started today, we could start to get this to market into the U.S. domestic supply chain in very short order, which is really exciting. Because I mean, what's antimony running at? $25,000 a ton for antimony metal right now, and rising rapidly. You know, a lot of that's on the back of this recent China announcement. So we got it. It's pretty amazing. I mean, from what I saw out there, we were collecting it in the matter of a few of us in a couple of hours. We collected 3 tons of antimony. So there's $60,000 of antimony just in three hours, just picking it up off the surface. And so that just shows you the opportunity that we have here at Estelle with Nova Minerals.
And you've mentioned you're working closely with various US government agencies. Can you talk to us about these relationships and the potential funding opportunities that these present?
Yes, primarily we've talked to the Department of Energy, but primarily agencies within the Department of Defense. And the acronyms, I mean, I can't even keep them all straight. The acronyms go on. Let's call it the Department of Defense. And what they're seeking is antimony materials for stockpiling, for, you know, the thing with antimony is it's used in all the munitions. So artillery shells, HIMARS, javelins, even small arms, all of it requires antimony in the primer, and some of these things, antimony to harden the projectile. And so that's probably the primary short-term driver for some of these Department of Defense needs. And the grants that we're seeking are for development and capital for the development studies and capital to build you know, concentration plants for ultimately refineries. And there's a lot of those funding opportunities and already allocated, and more to come in things like the Defense Production Act, the Inflation Reduction Act that Congress here has passed over the last few years. And so a lot of those pools of money are specifically slated for companies like ourselves doing what we're doing to bring this antimony and these other critical elements to market.
So clearly you have this antimony. What are the next steps?
We seek this DoD grant funding, and I think there's a near-term opportunity to receive some of that funding. When we just submitted a proposal, an application, submitted that, and for an opportunity that could present itself here potentially before the end of the year. I mean, you never know. You don't know until the money's in the bank, of course. But I think our project will have serious consideration, considering what I just told you today, that it's right there on the surface, and so readily accessible, and we can deliver this in the short term. And so, but longer term as well, you know, there's always constantly new announcements for funding opportunities, and we're keeping a close eye on that. But there's one right now that we just submitted a proposal for, and we're hoping that that'll be a positive outcome, so we can get straight into it, just to get out there and you know, do this metallurgical test work, do some drilling out there, do the process design, and ultimately build the plants, the concentration and refinery plants that are required to really, because to fully secure a supply chain, you have to do it all, mining and refining. What's the point of just mining and concentrating it and exporting it somewhere else to be refined? So we really want to establish that. So those are probably more longer term funding opportunities, but right now, just to get out there and the development work and the field work that we have to do to get it out of the ground and get a concentrate going.
Very exciting times for Nova. Chris, thanks for your time today.
Indeed. Thank you so much, Tyler. Looking forward to the next update. Moving very quickly here.